Don't tell me you're inside. Are you just waiting for me, or you just?
It's not reality.
It's not reality. Jazakallah, that could be one way of putting it as the argument, which is, well, no one has written like it. Tough. There's no reality for that. Problem is, somebody say, but you haven't answered the question. Potentially, somebody could say that. Potentially, Jill.
I would have said that the question is about really who the author was back then.
Yeah.
And that's the real question. So if we establish the author back then was Allah, then really the question of whether there will be actually images again in the future is, again, when we answer the Quran itself says so then, because then we establish the Quran itself to be a truth of the future. The Quran itself says that no one is coming.
Jazakallah, that's one very important argument, which is, we're trying to establish that this is a book, and this book requires an author. You don't ask about the author today or the author tomorrow or 10 years time or 100 years time. You ask about the author at the time the book was written. So who was the author at that time? That's what I'm trying to establish. And it's categorical from all that we've been through. The author could only be one, the creator. That's what we can establish. Jazakallah khair, that's a very important argument and a good proof. But I want to really push this issue with you. But what's the guarantee in 1400 years or the next 1000 years, the next 100 years? What's it?
Because they will always be one Allah.
Jazakallah, and they won't deny this. Yeah, there is always one Allah, and we agree there is a creator. We've proven that. But this book, we can write like it now. That doesn't disprove that there's a creator, but what it would disprove is in the Qur'an. That's what they would argue. Go on, Muslim.
You spoke about the principle.
Yeah.
The principle was there, it's not going to change. So they've got the tools there to do it right now.
You know, 1400 years ago, what we discussed about, take what we discussed at the beginning about Isa alayhi salam, Musa alayhi salam, Ibrahim alayhi salam. Scientists will say, we don't know how that was done, but once we know the principles of how it was done, what will we be able to do? We'll be able to reproduce it in the laboratory. Because we have the principle, we'll be able to copy it, another time we'll be able to improve it. That's what they will say. Virgin birth, don't know how that was done, don't know the principles, but once we know the principles of how it was done, we will be able to do it and improve it. Separating water in its natural state, don't know how that was done, but once we know the principles, we'll be able to do it and we'll be able to improve it. That's their argument about why not now, but why in the future. How that falls flatly on the face of the Qur'an is because the Qur'an, even before it was revealed, the principles of the Qur'an in terms of the language have always been known. The principles are already there. Principles are already there. I'll give you a nice example. Allah in the Qur'an says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Allah will never change the circumstance of a people until the change was within themselves. My level as an Arabic student is probably just about at the level of GCSE, or below GCSE. That's my level. However, I can explain to you the grammar, the syntax, the punctuation of this ayah in the Quran. I can explain it to you. How it was constructed and why it was constructed in that way. In Arabic, if I translate into English, we say in English, Mohsin went to the masjid. In Arabic, you know what you would say? You'd say, went Mohsin to the masjid. That's how the Arabic language works. So in English, you say subject. If you think I would have the board, you'd have something called SVO. Subject, verb, object. Subject, Mohsin, verb, went to, object, the masjid. That's how the English language is constructed. In Arabic, it's VSO. Verb, subject, object. Went, Mohsin, to the masjid. Yeah? Dhahaba, so we would say Dhahaba, Mohsin ila al-masjid. In this ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says SVO. What pattern does that follow? That follows the English one. SVO, because the ayah starts with Allah does not change the situation of a people until the change was within themselves. It follows the pattern of SVO. It doesn't follow the normal pattern, which should be VSO. So you're still with me? Good. And you know something, and I can explain the reason for that as well. And the reason is because if ever an ayah starts with inna, or in, then it will be connected either to a pronoun like innahu, innaha, innahum, or be connected to the noun itself, which is Allah. Inna Allah, you have to do it. That's how it's done in the Arabic language. So my point is that I can explain it to you, and I can explain how this ayah was therefore constructed. So your question your question to me should be what? Well, Burhan, you know the principles how this ayah was written. You can explain how it was constructed grammatically. What should I be able to do? Sorry? I should be able to make another one. Absolutely. I can't. Not only can I not, those who are PhD students, doctors, they can't. Impossible. They can't. And the key thing is the principles. It's not that we don't know the principles. Therefore, one day when we find them out, we'll be able to do them. Which is what the scientific argument is. We don't know, but once we find out, we can do it. The point is, these principles have always existed. You have always known them. They preceded the Qur'an. You have them. Actually, 1400 years on, you should have surpassed the beauty of the Qur'an. And you haven't even been able to match it. This is why we make this remark here. I'm not sure you have that. The irrational miracle. The irrational. It's irrational. It makes absolutely no sense. Because it confuses the mind. I know what to do, but I can't do it. And I asked once a physicist, a PhD student, you know, mashallah, physicists by generally speaking are quite intelligent people, and he's a PhD student, so he's actually really quite intelligent. And I asked him, we were back of the car, I said to him, I said, you know something? If I told you there were principles which you cannot imitate, what would you say? His answer was, it's impossible. He goes, how can you tell me I know a principle but I can't implement it? He goes, that contradicts reality. That makes no sense. I said, brother, I welcome you to the Qur'an. God, the miracle is built upon the language. The principle of the language is there. You can touch it, you can feel it, you can sense it. It's in front of you, but you're not able to write like it. This is why today in the Muslim world, even in Israel, in Jerusalem, that you have teachers of Arabic who are Jews, who teach language, and examples they bring is from the Qur'an. They bring examples from the Qur'an to teach the language. And one student who I know indirectly asked his teacher, who was a Jew, and asked him, why don't you write like the Qur'an? And his answer was, because I can't. Because I cannot. So the principal argument is, if you can't do it now, frankly speaking, you'll never be able to, because the principles have been there for 14 centuries. And the best of the Arabs in the language were when? 1400 years ago. They were at the height of the Arabic language. Now you get wannabe Arabs like me, who pretend we're Arabs, but actually we're just ordering, food, and we think we know, but we know nothing. At the time, the real Arabs, for me, if you want to meet real Arabs, you've got to go to a place like Tajikistan. You go to a place like Xinjiang province, you meet real Arabs, proper Arabs. They may look Chinese, but the Arabic is of the highest level. Forget your Saudis, they're for me wannabe Arabs. Most of them are Bangladeshis and Pakistanis anyway. But no. But you go there, you find their language is very poor relative to the Arabs what you find in these provinces. Because when they learn Arabic, they don't learn the colloquial language. They learn it as it is. High level. Can't touch it. Amazing. You're touching a miracle. Not like, brother, believe you're touching a miracle. Wallahi, you're touching a miracle. And you hold the Qur'an, you're touching the words of the Creator. That's what you're touching. And that's what you're holding on to. Because we've proven it categorically. Of all the authors, only one possibility. And my proof is this option at the end. Let me end with my foreign policy example. Imagine we are a council of, all of us are in the Pentagon. And I was going to say George Bush, alhamdulillah, he's moved on. I'm Barack Obama and I'm addressing you. As looking at some, I need